The Dart language comes with many pre-built data types and functions that you can use in your apps to solve a variety of common tasks. These are part of what are called the Dart core libraries. You can think of the Dart core libraries as a big box of books filled with code that you can use in your apps. In fact, you've used elements in the Dart core libraries already. Number types like integers and the string types are part of the core libraries. The print function you use to print a message to the console is also part of the core libraries. The part of the core libraries that include these fundamental types and functions is imported into your Flutter programs automatically. When you're developing your own Dart apps, you'll frequently want to use elements in the Dart core libraries rather than reinventing the wheel. But the libraries are big, so how can you know what's available? Luckily, the Flutter and Dart documentation are available online, and it's really expansive. You can go to dart.dev/guide libraries to read all about and investigate what's available in the Dart core libraries. The Flutter Dev Docs is also a great resource to learn about all things Flutter.
To get started, open your project in progress or download the starter project. In this episode, we're going to be using code from the core libraries to produce a random number. Open up flutter.dev/docs in your browser. You'll see that there are a bunch of options. The videos are a great resource for learning all about the framework from the developers themselves. Click on the API Docs option. You'll be brought to the table of contents. On the left-hand side, you'll see the links to all sorts of libraries that you can use in your app. We're interested in core libraries, so scroll down to see all of the core libraries. We're interested in a random number. This can be found in the math library, so click on dart.math. The math library contains a bunch of classes, followed by more constants and even more functions. Click on the random class. We're looking to create a random integer from 1 to 100. If you scroll down, you'll see a method called nextInt. Click on it. Here it provides some information about the method itself. When you first start, this information may seem a bit obtuse, but as you get comfortable, you'll be able to read them with ease. Now, switch back to your project. Open up main.dart. At the top of the file, import the math library. How'd I know the syntax of the import? Well, the documentation showed me. Back in your browser, navigate to the Dart Math Library page. You'll see an example of the import. Remember, when you have a question, the documentation is a great starting point. Now, let's pass in a random number. In the init state found in game page state, update the game model to the following. Unfortunately, there's a slight bug. We're actually getting a random number from 0 to 99 as opposed to 1 from 100. How do I know this? Well, from the documentation. You can either go back to your web browser, but you can also access the docs right inside of Visual Studio Code. If you are using Mac OS, hold down Command. If you are using Windows, hold down Control. Now click on the nextInt method and you'll be brought to the documentation. You'll see that nextInt generates a non-negative integer distributed in the range from 0, inclusive meaning it is being included, to max, exclusive meaning it is being excluded. So in our case, 0 to 99. We want 1 to 100, so we'll add a number. Now all we have to do is call it. Update the prompt widget to use the new target. Now build and run your app. We will be prompted to find a random number. Reload the app and you'll get a new number each time.
Remember, when you're learning Flutter development, you don't need to memorize every single thing you can do. Instead, you just need to focus on learning the general concepts and what's possible. And then you can refer to the documentation when you inevitably forget things. As you progress through our learning path and you learn more about Flutter development as well as the Dart language, the documentation will start to make a whole lot more sense. And you'll eventually get to the point where you can use it to refresh your memory on what you've learned in the courses and even striking off into new things on your own.